Hello and welcome. Today we will continue working with Postman. We will be knowing a little bit of Postman and do some examples, using APIs. Remember, if you have missed one video you can watch it in our API video playlist. Well, let's continue. Once we have installed Postman in our computer, let's open it. There are several functionalities or instructions that we can use in Postman. We will be using almost all of them, and explaining what is each one for. Well, once we have installed Postman, let's start creating our first requests. We will be learning on the way what is every instruction or button for. In this left side of the screen we have three sections. One is for execution history of our APIs. Next we have collection section. This section will contain all the collections we created for our tests. The collection is all the APIs we want to test for specific project, for example. And then we have the API section that is used for creating APIs. We will not see this section due it is focused in development, and we will learn how to test the APIs using Postman. From this button we can do several things. We can create a new collection, a new requests, set up a new environment, among other advanced options. There is a configuration panel where we can set more information. For general information, request headers. Change the theme. I will change it to black. Shortcuts. Data. Add-ons. Proxy, among others. Let's start working creating a new collection. Let's write a name for the collection, my first collection. Now we have created our first collection. We will start adding APIs to be tested. For example, I will add one example for getting some information for an API. As you can see here, we can do several actions in our collection. At this time we will add a new request. We will add a name for the GET request. Select the request created, and as we can see the methods we can use. The section with the URI or URL is set. For example, we can set the method we want. Click on Send, and the response will be shown here. We have a parameter section, the parameters we need. Authorization. What kind of authorization the API needs. Header if we need send some attributes in the header. Body. We can set the format of the message, in this case I will select JSON. pre-request script, we can add validation previos to the execution of the API. Test. The validation we want to do is assertions. And several settings we can set for the API. We can add more APIs to the collection. We can add another one, for example, for create. Select the kind of method. And we can manage the APIs here for our tests. Now we know how to add, how to select the method, where we can set some information. Let's do an example with an API. We are going to start working with APIs, so we will be needing the APIs for doing our tests. In this case, we will go to the next web page. In this web page you will find a lot examples of using APIs. There is a section where you can see different methods using several endpoints with their requests and responses, that we may use for our examples in Postman. In this section, as you can see, we have a list methods with different objectives over the endpoint. For example, the first one, list all the users. It has the based path, the endpoint and the parameter we need for execute it, and the response we expect to receive. And you can see the same for all the methods below. Get single user, list a resource, user not found, create, among others. Well, let's use one API from the list. Let's list all the users. So we will use the first API. We are going to select the first request that we made in the collection, and we are going to set the URI, the method required, and we are going to test it. The URI is the URL. And the method is get, because we are going to get the information. The based path we can get it from here, from the request. I will set the based path next the URI, and we will be ready to test the API, if it gets the list of users. I will do click on the send button. The execution returned a 200 OK status code. And as you can see, all the information has been returned in JSON format. Do not forget, always save your request. Let's start working with another request. Let's look for a single user. So let's go to the web page and look for the corresponding API. I will do a copy of the URL, because we know the URI will be the same one. Now we have the URL set, let's run it. And as you can see in the response is listed the user with ID 2. I will change the ID and it should bring other information. Now we will use the endpoint for creating new users, so we have created the request, so we need to fill it with the corresponding information. In this time for creating a new user we need to add information in the body, so the information we need to add is this. The name and the job. And the response should be name, job, id and date of creation. So let's set it up in Postman. I copied the URI from another request, and I will check if need to update something on the string, as it is marked in the web page. We need to add the body request we need for this type of method, that is a post. So we need to add the information required. I will set here the name and the job we want to be created. And do click on Send. As you can see, we received the expected information on the body response, and the status code. These endpoints are simulating all the interaction for deleting and creating. So for real simulation we need to have an environment to do real validations. But for understanding how it works it should be fine. If you try to find, update or delete this information it will not work. Let's continue. Remember that we always need to save the requests. Now let's create a request for updating. Remember we can do updates using put and patch. We will create one request for each one. We will do the update first using put. I set all the fields on the body, and I did not set parameters on the endpoint. I will run the test. As you can see, it brings the 200 status with the information in the body response updated. So let's save the request and create another request for patch. In this case, we will send a parameter in the URI endpoint, and just a specific field to be updated in the body request. We do click and send. And as you can see, the information was updated. Now let's add a request for deleting the user, so we will do it by passing the ID as marked in the website endpoint. So I set ID 2, as it comes in the webpage example, and I will do click and send. And as you can see, it is returning in 204 no content found. As commented, those are endpoints for testing. We can use the option method in order to know what methods we can use in the endpoint. So let's set it and run it. And as we can see, we can run these methods in this endpoint.